All right. All right. Usually we try to give people a couple minutes because people invariably log on in the first 5 minutes of it. So welcome everybody tonight to our monthly Fire Safe Council Siskiyou County meeting. And what we usually do is just go through, I point out to a person and just tell us your name and who you're with. And I'll start with Giselle.
I'm Giselle Nova. I am the coordinator for the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County.
Greg.
Greg Dinger, Mount Shasta West.
Thank you. Joseph.
Yeah, hi everybody. This is Joseph Hott with Black Mountain Fire Safe Council, and I also have my sister here, Suzanne Hott.
Hi,
Great.
Susie.
Hello. Glenn.
Hello, everybody. Glenn Jysett. I am a board member of the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County.
Thank you. Andrew.
Hi, my name is Andrew Weiss. I'm the district manager for the Lava Beds Butte Valley Resource Conservation District.
That's a long acronym, Andrew. Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Erickson. I'm the Forest Fire Prevention Officer for the Klamath National Forest.
Thank you. Jason.
Hi, I'm Jason Brooks, CEO of Fireside.
Okay. Greg.
Hi, everybody. I am a program coordinator with Community Organized Relief Effort, working on the Community Wildfire Defense Grant alongside Giselle and Jamie and the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County.
Thanks. Kevin. You're muted. You're muted, Kevin. Oh, maybe not. Okay, well, he disappeared on me. Okay, we'll go on Emily.
Yeah, Trinity County Fire Safe Council.
Oh, great. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Hey, Madeline.
Hey, Madeline Navachi from Quartz Valley, resident.
Ruby.
Hello, I am Giselle's administrative assistant.
Thanks. And Joanne?
I work for Siskiyou County Administration.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I do ask when you guys are speaking to put your camera on. I know a lot of people in these meetings like to keep it off, which is fine, but if you're speaking, it's appreciated if we can see you besides hear you. All right, and I think, oh, Kevin, are you back?
Still can't hear him. Yeah.
Mm-mm. So Kevin is with CAL FIRE, and I guess he will work on that. And excuse me, I have been ill for a couple months, but my voice is slowly and my lungs are slowly coming back. So pardon me if I end up coughing tonight. I will try to mute myself as much as possible for that. So we're going to start out tonight with our updates and speakers, and I'm thrilled to have Jason with us tonight from Fireside. If you don't know, I think most of you probably have heard me talk about it and or been involved in it, but we use Fireside with our home assessment program, and we use it in conjunction with the Community Wildfire Defense Grant that does the home assessments, and then we do the fuels work through that grant money after the assessments are done. So we are all through the county. We've already done Forks, Cecilville, Scott Bar, Hamburg. We're working presently Dunsmuir. We're going out to the Tennant Bray area and Wairika area, and we will continue to do that over the next few years as the We're in year 2 of the CWDG grant. And so Jason's here to give us updates on their growing program and what they're doing. So Jason, go ahead, take it away.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. And I always like to say thank you for all the work you do out there in the field. I know it can be hard getting out there, and we just really appreciate everything does on the team. What I just prepared today was just kind of a little bit of a quick overview, kind of on some of the progress we're seeing in the county, and then also just some of the new features and things I thought I'd share around where we're headed. I'll keep it relatively short, and of course happy to take any questions that can come up. So give me one moment.
I made you co-host, so you can
Awesome.
share if you want to share screen.
Perfect. You're thinking ahead of me there. Thank you so much. Okay. So, the first thing and some of this is just meant to kind of give you an update of some of the things we're learning as a company as we're supporting a wide range of different partners. We're in 12 states now and work rural communities, urban, everything else in there. But I think there's 3 things that we really think about, and you'll see this in continue to kind of be available in the software, which is like, how do we ensure really quality and consistent data inputs, which is things like field guides that was mentioned earlier, but tools to make sure that we're getting really, really good data in there. We're also seeing more and more different types of models be developed to help think about help a homeowner, but even think communities think about where to prioritize. And I'll show that in just a minute. And then how to ultimately the work you do, how do we get residents to take action? And what we get really excited about is that's actually how change happens, and you need those things prioritized in there. So again, just sort of sharing how we kind of the journey that we're on and continue to be on as a company. One of the things I'll call out and just share with you if you're not aware of is that both Vibrant Planet has a structure exposure score, and then Xyloplan has something that they've created called an urban conflagration model. And those are different models. They're third-party companies. We've worked with both of them to get them so that they're available for free through Fireside. We do have to just sign a quick it's a no cost agreement. It's very simple to do. But what you can start to do with this, and this becomes available, and you're seeing like images from the map, you can see actually like areas of cluster where the dark purple would indicate higher exposure to embers per this particular model, and a different way where like more likely the urban path is to go into there. Fireside, we're not a modeling company, but we're trying to make some of these tools available. So I just wanted to bring this in and share this with you. This might be something that's useful for the Fire Safe Council, everything from even when you're thinking about different vegetation projects or other types of activity, even just education. Again, just know that this is out there and we can talk about it more offline, but these are available for free from both of those companies through the end of this year in the system. And what this looks like, and I'll just kind of set up for a couple things I'll talk about today. We think about the Fireside system and things we've been really passionate about on the left-hand side is like, how do we introduce things like risk models? We have some partners that are starting to use like LiDAR, drone, or thinking about other places to kind of collect data, like in addition to getting on the boots on the ground in the field in there. And then on the far right, also thinking about different output tools, including how to let people, if they're going to go for the IBHS wildfire designation, to help with their insurance. And I'll show that in just a minute. So again, just a couple things to really talk about for this group of just that we're thinking a lot there. At the center is like our core of our system, but really thinking about where there's areas that we can add value for our partners, whether it's adding those risk models, like I just said, or helping residents if they choose to try to go for the IBHS designation or other examples in there. So just recap, because I think it's good to always like look at the progress. There's over 180 home assessments that have been done. You know this, you guys are out there in the field doing them a lot more than of course we are, but just wanted to pull together kind of a quick assessment of some of the things that we're seeing and learning. Some of this you may already know some of this. We looked at like some of what are the top defensible space recommendations that have happened out in their field. No surprise, vegetation in zone 0 is always a top one. We all know the challenges with zone 0, but there's that needs a lot of focus, and then some other things around a lot of tree work that needs to be in there and that kind of space. And so again, this wasn't like we could get more comprehensive and could talk more questions, just as we think about like what are common things that are being recommended to the residents, and also where there might be tools to bring in other resources. And we have a partner that's doing a big focus program on logs and stumps right now, because they're trying to figure out how to actually help people get those out and haul them away, as just an example. And similarly, when we got into home hardening, we took a look at just like some of the top items, and wood plank, wood siding because shows up a lot. We saw a lot of space around decks, combustible fences in there. As a company, we're working on some different tools and even have some different partnerships where like it can make it available to make mesh available at a discount. And so we could, there's areas where potentially as a fire safe council, you could start to think about like making, again, how do you make mesh available in bulk so it becomes more affordable for residents who want to enclose their decks, and just knowing that there's a huge set of vulnerabilities that were there, as well as combustible fences that were attached in vents and stuff. And so again, not just really just trying to illustrate and bring out some of the different kind of things that are coming up, both defensible space and home hardening. The other piece I'm going to shift to and just talk about is the stuff like where we're headed and things that we're really, really excited about. Is we've taken the time to sort of step back and look at almost over 100,000 resident interactions, different interactions over the past year on the system. And really thought about like how do we make the resident experience even better. So what I just thought I would also show tonight is kind of where we're headed. This will start to roll out automatically in the second quarter. There won't be any work for anyone to do. But what it does is it really starts to like help homeowners better visualize where things are in their property. I know you guys don't do enforcement, so ignore the violations, but if something is grant eligible, if something is a priority, all these different tags are automatic that will start to appear in there. And then a couple other things that will come out with this that are with the new resident experience. We've built the ability to integrate little like how-to videos if those are available, whether it's like ready for wildfire from Cal Fire, or if you have your own content, or Fire Safe Marin, or some places have different things. And so what they're thinking about a lot is like when a resident sees, hey, I've got this tree over my structure, how do I actually integrate and maybe even quickly see how to resolve it, or some of the home hardening items. So we're thinking, we've seen a lot of like people ask for help. Residents have asked for help. Hey, how do I do this? How do I resolve this? Help me. So we think there's a lot of great content in the Ready for Wildfire space that we'll embed in there. Two last things I'll just call out. One of the other things we've heard in feedback is in some areas, a lot of residents want to get a bid or want to get help with something. And so what we're also building is the ability where somebody can select certain items or certain things that's found on their property, and then they can essentially just create, when I say share, it basically just lets them text just those items or just those lists. So you could imagine if someone was thinking about how to change their vents out, for example, and they maybe if they need assistance with that, they could select their vents. They could actually, send it to a contractor and ultimately hope to help them get bids or help them find different resourcing in there. And we're doing some work with the state and thinking about like at the state, kind of at the Fire Safe Council level with different contractor lists as well. So just again, how do we help residents get information, get action? And then the last thing I'll just talk about briefly is also, of course, insurance. We're very, as you all know, we're very, very clear that like nothing gets shared with insurance companies. Data belongs to the resident. We're so passionate about the data privacy. But one of the things that does come up is residents are thinking about how they can get off the FAIR plan or what they can do. And the IBHS certificate is one of those, becoming a more well-defined path where there are carriers in California now that if you have the IBHS-based certificate, they will write you. And so what we've built out, and again, this is just a demonstration of it here, is helping a resident understand what items would meet the IBHS criteria and not visible in this example, but if something did not meet the criteria, it would help them understand that they would have an X next to it to be able to, that's something they would need to take action on in order to get that certificate, and then giving them the ability to like go into the process of working on that. So we really hope that by helping residents understand I'll summarize it as like, how close they are or what things that are separating them from that base designation. This will further help them take action and then ultimately help them access insurance. So I'm going to stop there. I'm happy to kind of take questions or go back on certain things. I want to kind of keep it short for this group. I could talk about this stuff for hours, but questions for me.
Yeah, I'll start off with the first question. So under that IBHS certificate, because I know that's a huge thing up here with insurance is losing insurance and not being able to afford the FAIR plan. Is with that certification, when let's say one of those items was X'd, how would they get that to go to green to check? Would they have to come back through another assessment?
No, that's a great question. So they can the workflow if it's like X, like let's say vents, you need to replace their vents and they need to do it. One of the ways they can get it to be clean is they can take a photo showing the photo that it's been resolved and upload that photo or send in that photo, and then we can change it can get changed from bad to good. So the hope is that you don't actually have to ever go back on site again or unless you want to.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, that's good to know so we can share that with the homeowner. Here's what we found, and then it's up to you to go further with it.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. Giselle?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Vibrant Planet and how that interacts with Fire Aside. So we're writing a CWPP update and a new CWPP. Can we use the information in Fire Aside? Because we've reached out to Vibrant Planet just to get a license for half the county. Half the county's already been done by Klamath National Forest. So we'd like to do the other half of the county. Is the work already done? Is it already there and Fire Aside? All we have to do is zoom in and look at it. How can we use it without having to purchase a license?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, it is what Vibrant Plan has done is they have made it available, like I said, for free inside of this. So let me make sure I don't overstep on anything, but it is intended to give you access to that. So you should be able to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's not the full Vibrant Planet tool. I want to be super clear, right? This is just their data layers come into us, but you could certainly interact with it and look at it in our mapping in our environment and stuff. So.
Oh, okay, so during an assessment, then we can look at it at that point. It's not like what Giselle's talking about, where we're buying the whole thing for the county and doing the whole data analysis for the county then.
Let me do this if you don't mind, because I didn't totally prepare for this. I'll send you Giselle, and I can send you a couple examples off after this meeting and show you what would be available, and then
Okay.
we'll do that first and tell me if
That
that'll
sounds
work.
good.
Just
Yeah.
guys, just to clarify, with respect to Fireside and Vibrant Planet, I think there's two questions. One of them is how are the two programs now integrated? And with the Vibrant Planet access being free, that's like what features do we get during assessments, after assessments, et cetera, homeowners and such like that. The second part of that is what Giselle was referring to is the additional data that Vibrant Planet talks about needing to still process for other portions of Siskiyou County. So I think that's two different things. One is their collection of the data. The other is just accessing the program to benefit those that we do assessments for.
Well, I'm wondering if we can do an assessment and see Vibrant Planet's work, then have they already done that work over those homes, or do we still need to get that done? So if we can zoom in and say, oh yeah, I see the modeling that's been done here on this home in South County, does that mean they've already done some work here? And do we need to have it done again? I don't know what we're getting.
I'm gonna state like because I'm gonna get it well over my skis and get myself into trouble. So if you don't mind, let me just take that. I just didn't prepare to. What we have from Vibrant Planet, but to summarize, is what they call their structure exposure score. It's the SES. It's the structure exposure score. What that does is it creates a ranked value of the exposure to that property to both flame front and ember. So it says this parcel has a 7, that one might be a 9. Again, I'm keeping it simple. And so every parcel has that exposure score, and then that is available through to be accessed through Fireside, whether you're doing assessments or looking at other information for the course of the year.
Yeah. So Giselle, what that means is whatever data Vibrant Planet has, if they have it or if they don't have it, that information is now accessible. At least the score information is available through Fireside. This doesn't change or have any relevance to whether or not the rest of the county has been modeled by them. So
All right.
that's still a second question for us
All
to
right.
confirm with Vibrant Planet.
Okay. All righty.
Yeah. That makes sense to me, Glenn. Any other questions? I know, did we get Kevin back on? I know that CAL FIRE maybe Jason, you can talk to this. You're working with CAL FIRE, or no, they're working with Vibrant Planet, excuse me. So Jason, are you working with CAL FIRE at the state level yet?
We are in a pilot that went live with 3 units. 3 CAL FIRE units are starting to use the fire-aside system for their defensible space inspection programs. That went live last week, and we do work with Vibrant Planet. We overlap in a couple of the units as well with them. So
Okay. So yeah, and I know we've been talking to our local unit here, CAL FIRE, about Vibrant Planet and the use of that, and because we know that the statewide is looking at it, so we just want to make sure that we're kind of all working towards the same page. We may not always all be on the same page every day, but that's a concern of mine because in the past, in the programs we've used, they were good programs for their time, but when other agencies and organizations won't use them and won't have anything to do with them, then it's kind of left us out in the cold a little bit at different times. So I'm just making sure that we're all kind of going on the same river in the same direction.
yeah,
And I have just a little bit to add to that as well. If you guys can hear me on audio now.
Yes.
Okay, so actually, I'm down here to workshop in Sacramento this week, wildfire hazard prevention and mitigation. And something that we covered today is the Vibrant Planet platform. And what I can say and confirm that, as stated, there's the 3 units that are working with or using the Vibrant platform. And I saw the timeline. We're looking at a statewide rollout through CAL FIRE in 2027. I did pose the question to the forum because we've been through these charades before where we pick a platform and then we move away from it. And I was assured that we will be with Vibrant Platform for at least the next 5 years. So that probably has an effect with this group and Sawmick and some other decisions being made. But that was something I did raise my hand specifically and confirmed that this is the platform that as an agency we are moving to.
Sounds good. We should probably talk more offline. Kevin, I have been communicating with Amber Custer concerning Vibrant Planet. And so anyway, like to talk to you more.
All right. Thank you, Kevin, on that update. That makes me very happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any other questions for Jason? We're kind of a smaller group tonight, but it is after the holidays and first of the year and still, so we're getting people back on board.
Yeah.
Do I have any?
Hi, Jamie and Giselle. Yeah, me and my sister actually had a question to Jason. We were wondering what Fireside is all about and what is it concerning. And one other quick question, Giselle, does this program kind of replace? I remember way back in the day that we used to try to do this kind of program. I believe it was called red zoning or something like that we tried way back in the day with Perry Daniels. Does this format kind of cover that?
Go ahead,
yeah,
Jamie.
Yeah, yes, Joseph, but 1,000-fold of what Red Zone offered us. That's why I was mentioning earlier, we have had programs in the past that were good for their time, but this program goes well beyond what anybody with Red Zone could dream of. And yeah, like Jason said, we've already done 180 homes in the county so far, and with a bunch more coming up this spring as the weather works on our side. And so for us, it's been a very successful program.
So would this also help the fire crews like we were trying to do back in the day with, say, like we go into a campaign fire? Would this help the fire crews assess each structure and each landowner on what they actually have at their residence on evacuations and all that kind of information?
I believe it could be a possibility, but at this time, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but all this information goes to the homeowner. They own it. We do not share it with the Forest Service or the county or anybody else. So and we want to be very clear about that. We do have all the base information, but the homeowner gets it. We don't share it with insurance companies or anybody else. So it's up to, at this time, it's up to the homeowner to do with that information what they want.
Yeah, I would echo that. I would stress 100% contractually, data's locked. It only belongs to the homeowner. Full stop. Having said that, I will say, like in other counties, and I'll use like Napa County, for example, the Fire Safe Council is making it's basically set it up through us where the homeowner can choose to share that information with their fire prevention, the fire marshal, and then that information does become available in tablet command for if there are responding teams to have a get a sense of like what the suppression environment may be like if they have to respond. So it is doable, but in Siskiyou County, to be again just super clear, contractually, we were like resident and resident only for this particular program.
And just as a comment to be clear to everybody else on here, and maybe everybody knows, but we're doing these assessments as part of the CWDG grant. And so every single one of these people that's getting an assessment, there is kind of a presumption that the Fire Safe Council will put together a contract team to go out and do the defensible space clearing. So everybody that's doing this is doing it as part of an overall program that will eventually clear their homes for this season or at this time. So we're not just collecting data for data's sake or just here's the report and hand it off to the homeowner and say you're on your own. This is actually part of a program where we assume that we're going to be going and doing the work for the homeowner.
Yeah, and the communities I mentioned earlier, Joseph, those we have done the work, the hazard fuels reduction work around those homes, as well as the assessments.
So that totally answered our question. Thank you, Jamie.
Sorry. So it answered your question, Joseph?
Yes, it did. Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Do I have any other comments or questions for Jason at this time? Jason, I know we had Trinity County on here. I don't know where she went. Anyway, Fire Safe Council, and I don't know if Trinity County yet has moved to fire. Oh, there you are, Emily.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. If you guys have looked at Fireside or anything, if you had any questions.
Skylar might have looked into it. Skylar's our program manager for our Fire Safe Council. So she may have looked into it, but I'm unfamiliar with it. So
Okay.
I know that we've worked a bit with Vibrant Planet though, and that within since we work closely with the Watershed Center, I know they use a lot of Vibrant Planet a lot and have that going on. So I know there's been a little bit more like the Vibrant Planet side of things, but not necessarily Fireside. So I'll bring it up with Skylar tomorrow and see if they've kind of looked into it.
If they have any questions besides, I'm sure Jason and his organization, his company would be happy to answer, but they can contact me as well.
Fabulous. Yeah, it looked really interesting. It was cool to learn a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy with it. It's a really cool program. It's working for us. So
nice, cool.
All right. Well, Jason, I want to thank you again for showing up tonight. It's really appreciated, and the updates are very, very exciting. And congratulations, 12 states. That's really great.
Oh, thank you. It's house by house, right? We're all doing our part. All doing our part. I just get the juniper out faster than they replant it. So that's all I ask. So
thank you, Jason.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. We'll move on to. Sorry. Talking too much here. So it's speaking of the Community Wildfire Defense Grant update. Greg, do you want to give an update for the group?
Definitely. So since last year, they were saying we've completed about 180 home assessments throughout the county. And along with that, we have also completed 144 homes with defensible space fuels reduction work, along with some roadside ingress and egress fuels reduction work as well. So we've been very active in Forks of Salmon, Dunsmuir, Cecilville, Scott Bar in Hamburg, and we've also been active in Dunsmuir, and we're still active in Dunsmuir. So if you have any residents or anything like that that are looking to have some work done, send them our way. Our next communities that we're looking at doing work in are going to be Sawyer's Bar, Tennant Bray. So we're kind of grouping those two communities together. And then we're also looking at the Western Wairika area, kind of the outskirts of town. And then along with Callahan and Etna. So anybody in those areas that you know, send them our way if they would like a free home assessment, along with some fuels reduction work if they have it for us. So that's kind of the CWDG update that I have for right now.
And I'll add on to that, Greg, is that one of the things that we found out is we try to get the word out in all manners, social media and putting signposts out in the communities and everything you can imagine. And so we get a clump of people to make it worthwhile to go out there and do the assessments and the fuels reduction work. But one of the things that we found is that word of mouth, neighbor to neighbor, works a lot. It really, especially in our smaller rural communities. And so after we get out there and we start doing the work, then we find other people want to join in because they see what's being done. And so although we try to give not so much a deadline, but we try to give a time frame, but once the work starts, then we are being flexible. And so people who see their neighbor's work being done, then they go, oh, I like that, and it's free. So can I join in? And we're doing that I think we've done it in almost every community. Yeah.
I also wanted to mention for Madeline, good news. We're actually looking at kind of doing all of Scott Valley soon enough. So once we finish up with Callahan and Etna, I think we're gonna be moving into Greenview and Quartz Valley area, kind of just working in a grid. So good news for you and any of your neighbors. So let them know.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Any questions for the CWDG?
Yeah, I have a question, Jamie,
Yeah.
for Craig. I'm actually doing a fuel reduction program just north of Hamburg that I've been doing for the past 2 winters on a 6-acre partial just north of Hamburg. And I've been trying to reach out to see if I can get any help on this landowner. She has 6 acres of underbrush fuel reduction, and I'm trying to reach out to anybody or any crew that can help me out in that route.
So with our project, we're kind of we got some confines to our work. We're kind of stuck within the first 100 feet of defensible space around structures. And then we can also do work along ingress and egress routes, so evacuation routes for residents. But that's kind of all that we can do with this project, unfortunately. So we can't kind of tackle any of that large acreage.
Hey, Greg, is it 30 feet on each side of the road or what?
50
What's
feet.
50 feet? Okay, thanks.
Yep, of course.
It's 50, so that would give it 100 on egress.
Yep, 100 feet altogether. Yep, with the road included.
All together.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to put my information down in the chat and maybe me and you can get together.
Yeah, love to, Joseph. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, now we're into our agency updates. Klamath, Jen?
Hello, yes, Klamath Jen here. I've got a little bit of about a page of notes that I will try to get through. So updates on our McKinney fire restoration activities we've been up to. We are right now advertising contracts for some piling in the Craggy project. So that's good news. We're moving into implementation for that part of the project. And then we're continuing to move forward with planning for roads and planting in the McKinney project. The two forest prescribed burn EA, was there somebody from the Shasta Trinity here? I had to step away for a second. Okay. So the Shasta Trinity and the Klamath have been working on a joint fire prevention, or no, I'm sorry, prescribed fire EA, which will do most of the legwork for us, allowing us to do prescribed burn kind of across the landscape without getting bogged down in the NEPA process too much. We'll still have to do some smaller bits, but it's a pretty big deal. We're very excited for it. It's going to be great news for Siskiyou County. And proposed action was completed a month ago. And we're looking for a decision as early as this spring. There's actually, I'm going to put a link in the chat here, a cool story map and more information about the project itself that folks can check out. So let's see, there it is. For fire stuff, our fire folks have been out burning piles all over the forest. Lately over on the Goose Nest, we've been kind of in the Bray Old Highway area, over by in the Oak Knoll area, over up Horse Creek drainage in the Rainy Saddle area. We've been working up there to burn some piles. Sam and Scott has been over by the Masterson Loop area, doing hand pile burning, and that's all wooey right there. Let's see. So far, since the end of fire season, we have completed 3,100 acres of pile burning, and we're still going strong. So hiring has been ongoing. We just finished perm hiring. We are moving into temp hiring right now. I just want to put a plug out for some recruitment events that we are going to be putting on in Chico and Reno for fire jobs with the Forest Service. There'll be people on hand to help folks through the USA Jobs platform and working on their resume, and answer questions about jobs on each forest in Region 5. So I'll put that in the chat when I'm done yammering here. Let's see. Also, there is no plan as of this time for the Forest Service to be part of the DOI's federal firefighting agency. So just want to share that with the group. There's been a lot of buzz about that. Our deputy forest supervisor, Chris Sexton, retired last week. And we don't have anybody identified yet for filling in behind her. And then we also will be having our Scott River Fire Management Officer, Richard Ingram, retiring in a few days here. So lots of movement around the forest. No word for, actually, Cody Stalker, his battalion, will be detailed behind him. We've got some timber sales that are still working on the Klamath. There's a couple up by Black Bear and a couple also in the Lover's Leap area, south of Callahan. And then there's also the Lover's timber sale up by Lover's Camp. Did I say Lover's Leap earlier or Lover's Camp? Anyway, both areas have got some timber sales moving logs right now. So if you're out driving those roads, be heads up. We're chipping in the antelope burn over on the east side of the forest near Grouse Hill. And the last thing I have was in December, President Trump signed the reauthorization of the Secure Rural Schools Act, which means RAC funding should be becoming available again through 2026. So I don't have anything beyond that on like the state of the Siskiyou RAC right now, but that was really good news. So that had not been signed for a few months, so everything was at a standstill, but we can start moving forward again on rebuilding our RAC. And that's the end of my update. I will put our recruitment event information in the chat. Does anybody have questions?
I'd just like to say that what you said about Rich Ingram retiring and Cody being detailed behind him, that's not possible. They're only 22 years old. That's how I remember them. So they can't be, look at retirement. I'm sorry, that just makes me feel really ancient.
Richard is very young for retirement.
There you go. Yeah, he's retiring very early. Well, congratulations to him. That's great news. All right. Yeah, Shasta T's not here tonight. And thank you, Jen. Kevin, you're on for CAL FIRE update.
Yeah, I think that one of these days I'm going to design a map so that every time there's a fire safe council meeting, I'm going to drop a pin where Kevin is to catch up with. Because every time I'm somewhere else in the state. So
You are.
today's Sacramento, like I said, I'm down here for a workshop. Basically falls in the wheelhouse of my hazard mitigation position. So just a quick report out for the Siskiyou unit projects wise. So it's not a very much traveled section of the highway unless you're heading towards K Falls or Bend. But if you've traveled the 97 corridor from Weed to Military Pass, you probably noticed some mastication. We've jumped in with the Shasta Trinity National Forest with the Good Neighbor Authority, and we've accomplished about 400 acres of mastication both sides of Highway 97. Pretty obvious why that's a strategic location for us to do that. So it's a great opportunity with the forest. We just started last week on the Kilgore Hills project, which is just east of the city of Wairika. We're just doing road access right now. There's some contract crews going to be in there getting some work done, and then we'll be moving forward with about a 3,000 acre prescriptive treatment back there to include prescribed fire. We should be starting here very quickly, maybe next week, on a McKinley Scott project, which is actually a timber industry project, but they've got about 1,000 acres of piles in the valley, in Scott Valley, just adjacent to Quartz Valley, actually. So we're going to be having personnel in there burning piles. Let's see. I think I've shared with the group a couple different levels, a few executive orders that have come out from the governor, one last month, and then I think one already last week that have come out. They're all relative to fuels treatment, prescribed fire, air quality. It speaks a lot of legalese and government talk, but it's trying to get work done. The big takeaways recently, I think, would be the extension for the EPP exemptions for the projects. I think there was several of them applied to within the county that's been pushed out till May, I believe it is. So there's that. We have a new temporary directive that came out through the department today that we're going to be negotiating, navigating. It might give us a little bit more opportunity to help private landowners with some prescriptive burning as well. But probably next meeting I'll have a little bit more information on that. Great relationships being fostered as I've been working hard the last year to try and meet everybody in all these groups. We've had a few newer groups pop up. I see Andrew is on here from Lava Beds Butte Valley RCD. However, that one's going to work out. It's a lot of letters. And then Henry from the Siskiyou RCD. So we've got 3 RCDs that are getting up and running now. So it's good news. We have lots of groups, lots of people trying to do things. We're just going to try and keep working, get everybody steered in the same direction to accomplish all of the goals. Lastly, the January 10th governor's revision of the budget came out Friday, essentially. I have not been able to read through it as an agency. It looks like we're going to be good, which I think will lead for the good of all of us doing all the projects. There may be some cuts and some funding, but we'll see how that works out. That's it in a barrel, I think, unless there's any questions.
That's a lot of information. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe you'll make it back to Siskiyou County one day.
I was there this week. I was in Wheaton class the last 2 days. I just had to zoom down here today.
Okay. Instead of reading through the whole list, because whole lot of agencies and groups aren't here, I'll just go through the people who are here, and if you want to give an update of what you're doing, that'd be great. So Andrew, I'll start with you if you have anything for us.
Yeah, so I've spoken to a decent amount of you already. So we are, because our district was inactive for the last few years. Now we're kind of getting back with our first project, which we are under the North Coast Resource Partnership Durable Collaborative. We are going to be applying for a CAL FIRE Forest Health grant. To our target is a little over 3,000 acres of juniper removal on private land. For those of you that are kind of familiar with our district and our area, most of that acreage is out of Red Rock. And yeah, kind of linking our project with kind of some efforts that CAL FIRE and the Forest Service has been doing. So yeah, if anyone has any kind of updates about certain kind of fuels things that are going on in the Butte Valley, I'd really appreciate just kind of being keyed into it, because I'm regularly checking CalMapper and stuff like that. But I was surprised the other day. I was driving through MacDowell and I saw that they had an active burn going on Old State Highway, and I was like, oh wow, I had no idea that they're planning on burning some juniper right next to our project area, which is great. But yeah, so if people, again, it's like there's sometimes, especially in the Butte Valley, there's a little bit of a hole with information, and communication can sometimes be a little bit tough. So I'm really, anytime if someone, I'll drop my information in the chat if you know about any fuels projects going on or opportunities that might be able to expand upon the work that's being done. For instance, I think potentially working with CORE and seeing what, taking their assessment information and seeing how can we expand upon that for maybe, future grants. So yeah, that's kind of the long and the short of it.
Yeah. And we can talk more. There's two grants there. There's the CWDG out in Bray and Tenet, and then we have a Forest Service grant to treat Bray as well, all the roadside stuff in Bray. But we can talk, and the tools you ask about, I've been working with the board, and I think we have a solution, but we can talk offline about that.
Okay, thanks. Emily, do you have anything to share with us?
Not in particular. Our Fire Safe Council's New Year's resolution was to show up not just for our local organizations, but to attend more Fire Safe Council meetings. So that's why I'm here, and you'll probably see us a little bit more. But other than that, our Fire Safe Council is working on getting our CWPP approved by our Board of Supervisors and CAL FIRE and all that fun stuff, and just working through some of our programs, getting ready to start the year. So.
Great. Yeah. And anytime we can work together, because we do border each other and work. So that'd be great.
Yeah. I like hearing all the ideas that kind of get passed around. It helps me understand more of ways we can collaborate. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then Greg or Marina, did you want to bring up the CORE's looking for employees as well?
Yes, actually, that's a great timing. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah, CORE is actually hiring for a field supervisor position along with a program supervisor position for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. The field supervisor position is not CWDG related, and you'll be kind of encompassing 3 different counties. I will post job description or job links in the chat for everybody. Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome. Yeah, help spread the word on those.
Can you tell me what CORE stands for?
Sorry, it's Community Organized Relief Effort. So we're a nonprofit humanitarian relief organization. So they're big. They're all over the world. They're doing work in all over. They're across the seas, and yeah, it's pretty.
Cool.
They do some really cool work.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
CORE is Sean Penn's worldwide disaster and this other assistance charity, and Greg and Marina are here from CORE helping the Fire Safe Council with our CWDG grant. They're doing the project coordination and outreach coordination for us on that particular grant, and they've been fabulous.
Yeah,
cool.
They both Greg and Marina are Siskiyou County residents, so they hired him out of Siskiyou County. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Basically, there are boots on the ground for the CWDG.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Joseph, was there anything from your neck of the woods that you want to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update, and I just want to say hi to everybody after the holidays and hope everybody had a great holiday. To get back to my updates, I've been working quite well with me and my nephew are out doing our fuel reduction as much as I can this year. I've completed approximately about 30 to 40 burn piles without Siskiyou County and KRCE of Hornbrook out in A12 and some into Hornbrook. I'm still working on that 6-acre fuel reduction for the past 2 winters. And also to give you guys an update, I have moved my Fire Safe Council out of county, well, not out of county, but I also work with Arborist of America and Coleman Utility Engineering out of Portland, Oregon. I have just received about a month ago, me and my boss that I work for up in Portland, Oregon, have received and got signed in with working with the Oregon Department of ODOT for the next 5 to 8 years on doing fuel reduction, fire cleanup, any disaster cleanup with floods, whatever kind of disaster happens, all the states of Oregon and parts of Washington as well.
That's great,
Oh,
Joey.
yeah, that's wonderful, Joe. Good, it's good to hear that. All right, and then Joanne, you did you have an update for us?
Hi, my name's Joanne Johnson. I'm a project coordinator for county administration. Um, so I'm just really listening in to try to kind of hear what's going on, fire mitigation wise with the county. I know that some of our board of supervisors are interested in the county kind of getting more involved in this work. So we're just really early stages, just trying to understand what all the groups are doing. And so I hope to just kind of keep coming to these meetings and hopefully I'll have an update in the future.
Well, okay, great. Thank you. We're great. We're thrilled to have you here, and we're always happy to work with the county. I know through the years it's been up and down as far as their ability because of staffing and things. So, yeah, anything that we can do, just let us know, and we're happy to jump in with you.
So we are
Great, thank
talking
you.
Siskiyou County project coordinator. Are you part of the Natural Resources Department or what's your title?
Yeah, so I am involved in natural resources work, and it kind of depends on what the board and county administration is interested in working on at the moment. I mean, um, oh, sorry, I'm 1 second. We are limited by, staff availability. Um, so that is something, that we're still dealing with, but I am hoping to get more involved and find a way that the county could contribute in some way.
Thank you. Thank you, Joanne. Appreciate
Yeah,
being here.
absolutely. Thank you. Is there anybody else I missed who would like to add anything? Oh, Glenn. Hello, Glenn.
Hi guys. So I'm a resident of Horse Creek and was the previous chairman of the McKinney Fire Long-Term Recovery Group. And I just wanted to let everybody know that we do have a tool library that serves primarily the Klamath River Valley community from what we say from 263 to Happy Camp. But we have um, some really, really good home defensible space equipment and tools that are available to borrow for anybody here in the River Valley at no cost. We've got pole saws and chainsaws and rakes and hoes, and we've even got one of those things called a cant hook, which is if you're trying to move logs around, that's that thing that loggers kind of move logs around. Um, and they're ideally we purchase them so that homeowners can get some resources to help clear the vegetation around their home. And so if you know anybody that might be able to take advantage of that, I'll put my contact information in the website for the tool library in the chat group, so please let people know.
Great. And then Giselle, was there any updates through that you wanted to do?
We're continuing to work on, I think, about 10 different fuels reduction grants. We have our newest one is in Cantera, South Siskiyou, down by the river. It's a Stevens grant, 199 acres. We're working on that one. Trying to get the railroad signed up. I'm sure they will. It's just getting out there and getting them. They're kind of elusive. They don't stay in one place, probably because they're the railroad. And so we're working with them. And I think, as far as the prevention grants, I don't know if any of you all got any, but we applied for 3 and did not receive any this round, but I'm confident that we will in the future. So not much else to talk about, I guess.
All right, unless somebody has anything else, our next meeting will be February 11th at 5:30 right here on the internet. So
Awesome.
thanks everybody for attending, and get that information off the chat before you leave if you're interested.
Yeah, and Ruby will capture all of that as well. And so, yeah.
I had one more quick question. If Kevin or the Climate National Forest is on, we all know that we've had a really kind of a slow start on our snowpack. Trying to get ready to prepare for this oncoming fire season. I was going to ask Kevin back when he was on, or Klamath National Forest, what they think and how they're preparing and being ready, knowing that this year may be a very bad year on our snowpack levels. Do they have any updates on what they're preparing for with the lack of our snowpack this year?
Speak for Cal Fire in general. Basically, our staffing model is not going to be modified from what it was last year. You know, the 13 frontline engines, 4 hand crews, contract helicopter, and all the statewide assets available. And I would be political suicide if I were to wager gambles on Mother Nature and what she's going to do over the next 90 days.
Yeah, I agree on that. I agree.
Mm-mm.
And one other quick question for Kevin. Have you done any updates or any improvements on the upper east of Ager Beswick project prescribed burns?
The Upper East Side of Ager Beswick. So would that be referring to like the Bogus Creek project that we've been working on up there?
Yes, yes.
Yep. So the Siskiyou Fire Center, that's their priority project. They're laying out. We're going to expand that project another 500 acres. They might actually be going up there next week. We were just waiting for a break in the weather for the roads to tighten back up. So we do have a plan. And we burned 600 acres out there this summer on a very dynamic day successfully. So we're looking at probably pushing that out to about 1,000 acres this year.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
And Joe, this is Jennifer from the Klamath. My answer is not too different from Kevin's. You know, we always aim to be fully staffed moving into fire season, and if we need more folks, we bring them in from outside. So, but yeah, we're hoping for snow. Hoping for snow.
All right.
Thank you, guys. That's all I had. Just wanting to know that, knowing that if we don't start getting any snowpack this year, could be quite up there this year. I'm thinking if we don't get any snowpack.
Just don't say it, Joseph. You jinx us.
Oh, I've been keeping a close eye on that, and hopefully, like you said, hopefully we get some snowpack.
Yep. All right, everybody. I think that's it for this evening. Thank you very much for attending, and then we'll most likely see you next month.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.